Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee Unlimited with J and D. I'm Janelle and with my co-host Danielle. Today we're going to be talking about lowering the bar of motherhood. Danielle and I have we both have kids, and we've both experienced the pressure of being perfect, or being this version of a mother that I don't know if it's society kind of places on us, or maybe we think that's how it should be, or we compare ourselves. So we're going to kind of dive into this a bit about where do these expectations come from, and how can we truly make it normal to lower the bar. And I know that sounds bad, but I think Danielle and I have found places where we can be more, a little more graceful to ourselves, and lower our expectations, and everything has been fine, and everybody wins in that case, I think. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we jump into it, Danielle, I'm curious, what's important to you this week? What have you been focused on?
Thanks for asking that, Janelle. Well, I'm really excited about this conversation. And something that's been on my mind this past week is prepping for my retreat in Mexico. So
Oh
it's less
yeah,
than
yeah,
three
that's
weeks
coming
away.
up. Mm-hmm.
I have people who have been coming every year.
Mm.
So I want to make sure that it's not copy and paste content, that the activities are different. And every retreat I do, there's a focus. So this focus is going to be on the kleshas, which are Patanjali's Yoga Sutras
Mm.
about the five causes of suffering.
Whoa.
And I know it sounds heavy. It's like, whoa, okay, we're going to talk about suffering. But I thought,
But in Mexico.
yeah, in Mexico on the beach. But what I like to do is look at the opposite. Like, okay, we can do that work of going through the ego and detachment and fear, but what
Hmm.
is the byproduct of working through that? So each day we're focusing on something like the first day's presence.
Mm.
And then like the last day is awareness.
Mm.
So we're not going to be going like, okay, today we're going to detach from the ego. We will be working on that, but with the outcome of
Ah,
awareness or
it's like,
spirit or
mm.
acceptance. So that's what I've been working on this week.
Oh, good. That's amazing. And how long until you head out for your retreat?
The retreat starts May 10th. I
Mm.
always arrive 1 or 2 days earlier just
Yeah.
because I don't want to be, going through customs and doing all that travel and
Mm.
unpacking while I'm also receiving the group. So Scott and I will come down. We'll head down a day earlier so I can be rested. And then when everybody arrives, it's like ready.
Oh, and do your kids join you on your retreats
Yes,
sometimes?
yes,
Mm.
they do. Blanca's been coming to almost all of my retreats.
Wow.
She's sick of yoga. She's sick of meditating. And frankly, she's like sick of healthy food.
Enough. Fair enough. There's a time in your life where you can eat anything you want, and I do think that you need to grab onto it and enjoy it while you can. Because I had a really good mentor when I was in my early 20s. She was actually my hula instructor, my hula teacher. I used to eat, I mean, I still eat pretty badly, but I ate really badly in my early 20s. And she used to always tell me, she'd say, Janelle, enjoy it now while you can, because when you hit 28, everything changes. And I don't know why it was 28, but she always said, when you hit 28, you got to start eating better. And by golly, if she wasn't right. So I think good on Blanca, like eat whatever you want to eat. Don't do those
Exactly.
healthy retreats right now. You can do that later in life.
I know. She's like, I don't need this like vegetable and protein, local foods and juices. I just
Right?
want, like,
Yeah.
she was craving like sashimi. Well, I mean, it was still pretty healthy what she was craving, but she was like, I just want a salmon maki. And I'm like,
Mm,
you're not going to get that here. We're in Mexico, like on this like this like
Yeah.
little beach, private beach. There's no
Uh,
salmon maki, okay?
well, I like that she is saying what she wants and expressing that and doing what she wants to do. Good for her. Good for her. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. Thanks for sharing, Danielle. Let's talk about our topic for today, and that is about lowering the bar of motherhood. I mean, we're kind of talking about that with healthy foods right now,
That's right.
um,
We, I
and
think that
allowing your
we
kids to just
constantly,
eat what they want. Yeah,
you and I constantly talk about
we really
lowering
do.
the bar with motherhood, right?
Well, I mean, lowering the bar in a lot of things. Our apparel, like
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like, we just wear sweats today. Yeah, let's just wear sweats.
Sweats all
Like,
day long.
yeah.
That's right. I know.
We joke about it, but there's a real freedom in this. Behind the joke of it, it's
Mhm.
actually a key to happiness, I think, because high expectations are, in my opinion, high expectations in anything, whether it's motherhood or a career or friendships or family, anything, a marriage. High expectations only lead to, at some point, being disappointed or resentful or something. There's a negative experience on that path, and so I think the earlier that we all can, um, really break down perfectionism, the happier we can be, or the happier we will be. So
Mhm.
we joke about this because it's funny, and people don't usually admit that they're trying to lower the bar or lower expectations. But there's a method to the madness, I think. What we're doing is creating more grace, creating space for joy and happiness in imperfection. Because if you're seeking perfection, you're just going to be stressed and disappointed. So let's talk about motherhood because it's real for us. Your kids are out of the house now, in terms of their age. My kids are kind of high school, middle school age. When do you think you, well, kind of take me through your journey of motherhood. And did you feel early on pressure to be good at it all and to have high expectations on yourself? And when did that change?
No, I think it started just even being a woman and being pregnant.
Hmm.
Like, just with our culture, our society, we're seeing pregnant women wear heels, doing their
Oh,
hair, and all
yeah.
this. So there was this kind of like bar for me to look presentable.
Mm.
It's always kind of
Hmm.
in the background. Like, okay, am
Yeah.
I looking cute enough? Do I have like the right maternity clothes or
Mm.
this and that? And I remember just showing up one day when I drove the girls to school in my bathrobe.
We've
I
all been there. We've all hit that point.
Yes. I was like, F this.
Yes.
I'm just, I need to get them to school. And I actually needed to get out too. So it wasn't just that I was in my car. I got out and I was walking around.
Presentable.
Yeah,
Or
presentable.
presenting yourself unpresentable.
Exactly. In my brown fleece Costco robe,
Love it.
which I still have and still wear daily. But yeah, and I just thought, I'm gonna just walk around like this. Like, okay, I don't have my act together, moms.
Hmm.
Like, I am
Hmm.
just barely keeping it together here.
Hmm.
When our girls were young at that time, my mother was going through cancer too. So I really
Mm.
felt this kind of like sandwich generation of caring for our two children and then caring for my mother
Mm.
and also having a full-time job. So that was when I had just started at Lululemon. So high growth, especially when you start a new job, it's all
Mhm.
about like, well, it was for me about I want to prove my
Yeah.
worth and all of
Yep.
that. So I was going quote unquote above and beyond and trying to do that in all areas of my life.
Mm.
And it was just like, this isn't working. It's time for the bathrobe. And who cares what other people think?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we all hit the point because it's unsustainable when you have so many different hats that you wear as a human being and going through a sick, parent is a
Yeah.
lot, emotionally and from a time perspective and whatnot, and your attention and your focus. And so you really can't be everywhere and you can't do everything. And so we hit that point. Now I have a question for you though, because I remember when I hit the point, but it wasn't that I accepted lowering the standards. I actually was mad at myself. I felt like I failed. Mine wasn't a bathrobe. I wasn't taking the kids. I was meeting a friend for coffee. This was in Portland, and I wanted to meet a friend. This was when I was on maternity leave. So the kids were probably maybe, I think it was when I was on maternity leave with my second. And so she was probably 6 weeks old or
Mm.
so, and I wanted to meet a friend for coffee. So Carl was home so he could watch her, and I was heading out, and I just couldn't find anything that fit, that felt good,
Mm.
like pants, specifically pants.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it was June, and I was heading out to Starbucks, and it was a warm day, and I walked out with ski pants on because literally the only thing that could get that could fit me that was clean too. That was the thing that was clean and fit me were these ski pants.
Mm.
And so I was like sloshing like whoosh, 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 whoosh through the house. And I remember Carl being like, what's that? What's going on? And I was
Where
like,
is the moo? Where's the moo when we need it?
right. That needs to get back in style. And I remember telling Carl, I'm like, don't ask. It's the only thing that fits. And I slammed the door like behind me and I drove off like sweating. One, because I was wearing ski pants and it was hot, but two, like I was just so worked up and mad because I'd been
Mhm.
shuffling through my drawers and I'm like, I'm putting on the ski pants. I don't care. And and I remember when that happened, but I didn't have that moment of, you know what, I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to lower, I'm putting too much pressure on myself to look good right
Mhm.
now and to, find something that fits perfectly and my body's changing and all that. No, I was actually really frustrated. And probably the reason that story sticks in my head so much was it was so unpleasant. I was
Mhm.
so frustrated with my body at the time and this, I remember I was also frustrated with this sense that I had like only 30 minutes before I needed to come home and feed Sophia
Oh.
because I was breastfeeding. So I'm curious when you say you hit that point and you were wearing the robe, did you continue to give yourself grace and be like, you know what, this is okay. I can go out like
Mhm.
this. Or did you try to make appearances again and look good again?
Hmm. I gave up on trying to look good a long time ago. I
Amen.
mean, I remember was like with the girls. So this is going to be maybe totally unfiltered coffee unlimited conversations here, but how my breasts completely
Mhm.
deflated after Gabby, after my second.
Oh my gosh, same, same. It was after the second. It was like something out of National Geographic.
Yeah. Well,
They were just, it was like a gorilla in National Geographic. They were just sagging in like the weirdest shape.
oh my gosh. So it was actually the time.
Oh.
That's when I was teaching and I wasn't teaching yoga. Well, no, actually I was just starting to teach yoga, but I was teaching yoga at fitness studios. So all these
Mm,
other moms were coming in with
mm,
implants, they were looking cute and all this.
mhm.
So I actually went to see a plastic surgeon.
Okay.
I started to say, okay, I'm thinking about getting breast implants kid walk me through the process. So
Hmm.
she started telling me what the process was. And
Hmm.
while this doctor was talking to me, I was thinking to myself, wait a second, hold on. I'm paying you to cut me for aesthetic reasons. I'm like, what the F is going on with me? So I like back up. I was like, oh no, I can't do this. That's when I
Mm,
really started to get into yoga. So my first
mm,
teacher training was all about the physical, but then I started to really learn about the more mindful aspects of the practice and get into
mm.
more of the spirituality. And it's all about letting go of this body. right? I mean, caring for the physical
Wow.
body for sure, but
Yeah.
not having this like absolute attachment to the body because
Mm,
our bodies are constantly changing. If we
mm,
look at a photo of ourselves as infants, we're
mm.
like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's Janelle as a baby. Clearly, you are not that
The
same
same.
body.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about that's, I really feel like the practice of yoga from a spiritual perspective really supported me in not being as
Mm.
attached to what I look like. And
Mm.
also the realization too that I have two daughters. So what am I going to say to them? Like looks don't matter, but
Mm.
in my case, they kind of
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. So a couple things for me when I was listening to you, I wish I think, you know, I wish we all could have the or take the time or have the opportunity to work on that mindset that you're talking about that you develop around not attaching to the body and what it looks like and because there's so much unhealthy talk out there
Mhm.
about bodies and unhealthy mindsets about our bodies. And I'm still working on it. I like to consider myself someone that is evolved in that sense, and I'm not attached to what my body looks like. And I recognize that 20-year-old Janelle is not the same as 45-year-old Janelle or 60-year-old Janelle or 70-year-old Janelle. Like, um, intellectually, I know that. But that ego is so strong. The ego is so strong and for me, wants to constantly um, reminisce about the past and what I used to look like. And I know it's unhealthy. I totally know it's unhealthy, but I have my ups and downs with it. There are moments where I'm really, really centered and grounded and grounded in who I am as a soul and not as the body. And then there are times when um I'm not there, and I don't, I probably should try to figure out what the correlation is. Like I'm curious if when I'm more tired and if there is a correlation to like my ego takes over or my subconscious mind takes over, and these negative thoughts start
Mhm.
creeping in, or if it's something else, if it's when I'm scrolling on social media, if that
Right.
triggers it. I'm not sure what it is. um, but I think, many people struggle with it. So it's one of those things as moms that have bodies that have changed quite drastically
Mhm.
in our National Geographic way. Um, how do that's a really good one to lower expectations on. We should all be
Right.
open to lowering our expectations on, how our bodies age, truly.
Yes. I
Hmm.
mean, I do want to just say that I don't feel like, I mean, I'm still working on this too, Janelle. I get
Mm.
into that space of comparison and my muffin top, and
Hmm.
especially in the yoga
Yeah.
scene, when I open up my Instagram and I'm seeing
Mm.
all these 28-year-old size twos doing these
Yeah.
inversions and they look amazing in their tight clothes. I was like, oh. But that's why I think having
Mm.
some boundaries with Instagram or
Yeah.
anything else and making sure that I'm well rested, fed, I'm not hangry or anything like that before I start looking at these things.
Yeah.
And just wearing four-way stretch. I mean, I gotta
Four-way
hand it to
stretch
Lululemon.
is a game changer. Yeah.
Right, like
Four-way
it's pretty
stretch.
comfortable wearing all this athletic
Hmm.
stuff.
It's comfortable and kind of keeps some things in. So that's kind of
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, so I have though had, even though early on I felt like a failure in many ways, and I was not meeting the bar. I had a high bar, wasn't meeting
Mhm.
it, was disappointed in myself constantly. I did reach a point though where I started to intentionally lower expectations on myself, on the house, like how clean the house is, things like
Oh
that.
my gosh, yeah.
Lowering expectations on getting places on time. There was just there was a number of things that I started to be more lenient about, or like kind of like that don't sweat the small stuff kind of
Mhm.
mentality. And I was successful in like intentionally doing it and sticking with it. And one of the areas that I've really lowered the bar is my kids' lunches. So I
Mm.
actually learned this from my boss at Van City. She taught me this about her own kids' lunches, and I adopted it, and I'm thrilled about it because I used to totally sweat over the kids' lunches because the school that the kids go to, there's no hot lunch, so you have to pack a cold lunch every single day. And I'm just at a loss for creativity around healthy lunches, probably because I don't eat that healthy myself, as healthy as I should. And, with school lunches, you have to avoid nuts and strawberries and a variety of things you have to avoid.
Well, and you also
So
have three kids. So I just have to hand it to you,
it's
Janelle.
three
You have three.
lunches, three lunches. And it was just kind of the bane of my existence was making these immaculate, fun lunches for them that would keep
Mm.
them excited and, because they were comparing their lunches to other lunches. So I felt like I needed to like have an A game of lunches. You know what though? I don't. And so what I do is I actually don't make their lunches at all. I keep the pantry stocked with nut-free packaged things. So I'm not against packaged products.
Mm-hmm.
But what I also have are I always have fruit available in the house and I always have vegetables cut. So like pre-cut cucumbers, all my kids love cucumber. So pre-cut cucumber, carrots, peppers, like red bell peppers, orange bell peppers. Sometimes there's celery cut. They don't eat the celery as much, so I find if I have that, that goes to waste. So I try to just do things I know they'll eat. And
Mm-hmm.
they know that they have to grab some vegetables and some fruit. And then after that, as much packaged stuff as they want, granola bars, chips, anything.
Smart. I love
Because
this.
what my boss had told me, she's like, I make sure they eat a good breakfast. The lunch, it just needs to get them enough energy to get through the day so that then we have a good
Mhm.
dinner. So when I started to realize, yeah, like the lunch itself doesn't have to be perfect because there's two other meals that
Right.
we have a little bit more control over. And that has been life changing for me because I don't worry about it anymore. I'm not overthinking it of like, oh, do they have protein and do they have this and do they have that?
Mhm.
We'll just make sure they get some good protein at dinner. And everyone's happy because they pick out the stuff they want. Half the time they didn't like what I put in there anyway, and it would come back at the end of the
I
day, which
know,
then would
right?
just make me even more angry because I spent so much time preparing it.
Oh,
So that's something I've lowered. School lunches, lowered the bar, and I haven't looked back. And they're perfectly fine.
that's such a
They're
creative
thriving.
solution. I love
Hmm.
that too, because then they have the autonomy to choose what they want
Hmm.
with some boundaries of like, you've got to have these vegetables and fruit, and then you can choose all your packaged
Yeah.
snacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
What about you? Do you have any success stories on lowering the bar, or how have you lowered the bar for yourself?
Well, when you were saying like, okay, good breakfast and good dinner, I thought, oh, okay. I'm not sure if I hit either of those, then good breakfast or good dinner. I mean, dinners were like, I mean, this is where I would cut cucumbers and have like
Yeah.
miso with sesame oil. And it's like, okay, girls, we're gonna have this and some
Hmm.
popcorn. Right. So there were a lot of nights like that too, or
Hmm.
just picking up food because when they were younger, they were always in ballet. They were in ballet
Oh,
almost every night.
yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
this great kanji place in
Ooh.
Vancouver. So I would
Uh-huh.
just pick something up there. And I think for me, it was really about trying not to compare how I was
Mm.
doing with other moms, Because I
Yeah.
told you about that one mom who, was making a roast on a Tuesday night,
Oh,
who
yeah.
also like had a full-time job too. So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
made me feel even worse about that. I was like, how is she
Yeah.
able to do this, but I'm not? But yeah, I really lowered the expectation there, lowered the bar on all meals.
Well, that's
Like,
great. And when I say a good dinner or a good breakfast, that's I guess I should clarify. I'm not cooking a three-course meal. I'm not cooking. I don't cook at all. I don't actually cook. My husband cooks. If he's not here, then it's whatever's in the fridge or whatever's in the pantry, and it's totally fine. I do think that we have to realize that our kids will be okay.
mhm.
For the most part, um, they're getting what they need, and this is a period of their life. So yeah, I like that. And for breakfast, our go-to is actually making oatmeal, like just from oats.
Mm.
Because we used to always have the packaged oatmeal, the little
Mhm.
packets, but I realized it actually was super easy just to make the oats in a pan, and then we add our own maple syrup to it and some
Right.
brown sugar, and they love that. And I think oatmeal is a really good breakfast. We always have yogurt available and granola because the kids love that.
Mhm.
So that's an easy breakfast that they have with some fruit in it. But
Yeah.
nothing like we're not cooking pancakes and bacon and stuff like that. It's just simple, but kind of as balanced as possible.
Hmm.
Mm,
Now, if we think about like where we got, I mean, I know with society too, but
yeah.
this comparison and perfectionism, I'm curious to know what was your mom like? Was she
Mm,
like, making all your meals, and how was it like for you growing up?
yeah. So Um, my mom worked. She was a teacher, and so in the summer she was home with us, but in the weekdays she was working during the day. We had a lot of like Schwann's meals, like they had the Schwann's man that delivered frozen meats and stuff like that.
Mm.
And we were totally good eating in front of the TV. It was very casual, is what I would say, and
Hmm.
not very strict. And I don't, I thought it was great. Um, when I was growing up, we didn't sit around a dinner table every night. Like, I think some families, particularly in that era, when we were kids, I think there were, probably more than today, families that sat down at the dinner table every single night and, there was the cooked meal. We didn't have that. So, I would say that reflects in how I approach dinner too. Like you, I'm perfectly fine just cutting up a variety of, vegetables and just getting out some leftovers or even like some instant ramen and
Hmm.
that's fine for dinner. Like I don't have high expectations about cooking a meal and I don't like to cook. I didn't learn to cook from my mom.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to pass any family recipes down. So yeah, where I do used to compare myself to my mom a lot was my mom had our house was always very tidy and
Hmm.
clutter free. And I honestly don't know when she did it. Like, because we didn't have someone clean our house, Um, somehow she did it and I didn't notice. I don't know. But the house was always very clean and tidy. And so that's like I am not able to keep a clean house. It's just not
Hmm.
my strength. So when our house was messy, I would get frustrated, and I believe my frustration came from these visions of my own childhood being tidy. And then when I would look at our house, I would feel like a failure. Like I'd feel like,
Hmm.
why can't I do this? What is going on here? Is it that my kids don't respect me when I tell them to pick up their things? And my mom was able to get my respect. Like, what was it? But I used to get pretty frustrated. And that's an area where I have learned to let go of that. Like the house doesn't have to be perfect and tidy all the time.
Hmm.
Um, and if someone comes over, I'm okay with them seeing the house untidy. Like I'm not one to be scrambling to clean the house and make it tidy. I mean, I'll pick some stuff up that's easy, but I'm not
Hmm.
going to stop someone from coming over because I feel like the house isn't tidy enough.
Hmm.
Um, because I just don't think it reflects on who I am. Like it's not my
Yeah.
identity and it doesn't reflect my worth. But somehow we believe that, right? Like
Mhm.
somewhere along the way. And I do think social media plays a big part of it.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know, our parents didn't have social media, so I don't know what was going through my mom's mind when I was a kid. I don't know if she was comparing herself to others or if she had
Mhm.
high expectations on herself or if she was just doing what her mom did. I'm not really sure. Um, but what I do know is if we're ever beating ourselves up about anything, it's that's not good. Like
No.
we shouldn't be beating ourselves up. Like we're not bad people.
Hmm.
So, we're not harming people. We're not bad individuals. So we shouldn't be beating ourselves up. And so anytime I find myself talking down to myself or being disappointed in myself, to me, that's a cue that I need to let go of some sort of expectation that
Hmm.
I've made up in my mind.
Yeah. Well, our kids are constantly learning from what they're seeing us do, how we talk to
Mm,
ourselves. And so I often think to myself, do I want my daughters to have these kind of high
mm.
expectations where they have to make a roast on a Tuesday night or
Yeah.
look great or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And no, I just want them to be happy,
Mm.
wear four-way stretch,
Yeah.
take naps when they want to, and just
Mm-hmm.
like just
Mm-hmm.
be happy. I feel like that is the goal, just to be content. And I
Mm.
think that, making
Mm.
sure there are no crumbs or the sheets are ironed. I have never ironed a sheet.
I don't own an iron.
Oh, I love
If
it.
I need to get wrinkles out of anything, I throw it in the dryer for a little bit. We literally don't have an iron in our house.
Oh, anytime I've had to iron something, I mean, it's probably only been a couple of times,
Yeah.
like some speaking engagement or something. Scott will iron the shirt for me. I'm like,
Oh,
thank you, because I don't know how to iron.
no. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like lowering the bar and being
Mm-hmm.
okay with it. Crumbs are okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay if the floors are not absolutely perfect.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all about giving grace to ourselves and to other
Mhm.
moms out there,
Yeah.
not projecting on others and making others feel less than, if their kid is late, if they show up late to school, because I always think about that, like my kid, I drive my two younger kids to school and they're late sometimes and they get in trouble by their teacher. And I always think to myself, like, why get mad at the kid? It clearly wasn't their fault. Like I drove. Like,
That's
I'm
a good
the one who's
point.
late. But okay. But yeah, I remember when our kids were little, there was this other mom that was always like speeding through and dropping her kids off late, And I
Mm.
remember like there was a moment where I was like, oh, there's so and so again late. And now I'm like, shame on me, like because now I know what it's like, and we need to give each other grace more,
Yes,
and not judge others, if they're because they're going through some hard stuff and they
I
can't do it
know.
all. They can't get their kids out the door on time because they've got a million other things that they're responsible for.
That is the hardest thing. I remember getting the kids out the door on time was just
Hmm.
one of the most stressful activities of the day
Oh,
because
hard.
they're kind of like puppies where there's no concept of time. Like, no, we need
Yes.
to hurry. Like
Yes.
school starts at this time. My first meeting is at this time. But it's like,
Mhm.
no, no, what
No,
should I
no.
wear?
Yeah, what was it this morning? Oh, yeah, my oldest couldn't find her shoes.
Mm.
So that was a whole thing and never did find them. So who knows where they are, but we were looking for quite a while and settled for another pair.
Oh
Um,
my
but
gosh.
yeah, but it's okay. You know what? It's not gonna harm them as individuals at
Yeah.
all. We got to stop this perfectionism.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
If there's anything that you would want the younger version of Janelle,
mm.
young mom version of Janelle to know, what would it be?
Yeah. Um, I think what I've learned as I got older was that it's okay that my purpose as a human is not about my kids. Meaning I think when I was first having kids, like you said, I have three. Um, I don't know if it was self-inflicted. There was something in me that felt the pressure to devote myself to the kids and that my purpose in life was like fulfilled with these kids, and my identity was now a mother, and that was the most important role I had. And what I've learned is that it is a role that I have. I chose to have kids and I have kids. My purpose isn't kids. I could be just as whole and fulfilled if I didn't have any kids as a human. It doesn't take away from anyone if they don't have kids. And it's just an aspect of who I am now that I have kids. But I think my role as a mom is to teach our kids how to find joy in life and how to navigate challenges that they will face and have some resilience. Because I think childhood is a perfect sandbox for going through a lot of different things, rejection, embarrassment, um, sense of belonging and a sense of not belonging. All these things that we navigate as adults as well. And I know it feels like the end all be all when you're a child because you're emotional, you're still growing your emotional ability. But the beauty of being a child is, you have some adult figure in your life. Maybe it's your grandparents, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's one parent, maybe it's two, maybe it's multiple parents. But there are adult figures in your life that can help you think through what happened and talk through what happened. And so I always want to be there to be able to navigate with the kids, the things they're going through, and to talk through those things to help them always find joy and to give themselves grace. So I make it when I say I'm prioritizing family at any given time, that's what I'm prioritizing. I'm prioritizing my attention and my presence with them to help them navigate something and to help them navigate life
Mhm.
because they will be adults eventually and they will navigate it on their own when they're older. So um, it's so I think as my younger self, it wasn't to make sure that the kids, my job wasn't to make sure the kids had the best schooling and all the best things, and that my purpose is through them, which is kind of how I approached it early on. No, my purpose is to navigate life with them. And as they go through all the different stages of a child, infant, toddler, going to school for the first time, having friends and relationships and, you know, failed tests, getting a bad grade, all these things that feel are new for them and feel heavy and are hard and difficult. I'm just helping them make sense of it and navigate it. And that's all. So that's, I think, and I've learned that later in life. So there are times when I prioritize them, like I'm prioritizing them, but it's not because my identity is a mother,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
love that, navigating life with them.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you? What would you give? What
No.
advice would you give younger Danielle?
Hmm. I feel like I was really stressed out for the first several years of their
Mm,
lives.
yeah.
So that's probably, yeah, giving myself grace, be late, be okay with the mess.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it doesn't matter. It
It
really, at
doesn't.
the end of the day, it's about the relationships that we have with them. And that's not
Mm,
about whether, the house was cleaned or I had the
yeah.
perfect lunch or anything. I mean, baseline, they were fed. Not always
Right?
the best food, but
Exactly. It's
um,
okay. It's okay if they have a bowl of goldfish crackers, you know? It's
in front
okay.
of the
That could be
TV.
dinner one night. One night of goldfish is not going to hurt them.
Exactly. Or have
Yeah,
it using the TV as a babysitter, right? I
totally.
know moms who beat themselves up about like,
Hmm.
just I'm using the
Yeah,
TV again. It's like, you got to take care of yourself
yeah.
and a shower.
Do
Like,
what
go
works.
ahead, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Do what
So,
works.
yeah, I think it's that about being okay with not being perfect, not
Mm.
striving, just letting go of the striving for
Oh,
perfectionism.
I love it. I love it because when I go back to this and you strive for perfection, you're going to get disappointed in yourself. And then you get
Hmm.
these negative emotions. And then likely what happens is you take it out on your family and
Yeah.
they then experience it and they have a negative experience. And so, and nobody wants that. That's not what anybody wants. So
Oh.
you have to shift your mindset to be able to be in that space where you don't get those negative self-talk and taking it out on the rest of the family. So
Hmm.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for this
Yeah.
conversation, Danielle.
Thank
I think
you,
it's an
Janelle.
important one. I hope a lot of parents out there listen, and we normalize, lowering the bar,
Yes.
and showing grace to ourselves and to others.
I just love what you said earlier on about lowering the bar in so many areas of our
Mm.
lives. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, maybe this will be a series for us, lowering the
Yes,
bar in your relationship. Lowering
all
your
the things
bar.
we can lower the bar on.
Oh, well, thank you, Janelle. And thanks for listening to Coffee Unlimited with J and D. Make sure to follow, subscribe. And if you have a question or you want to talk to us, you can reach out to us on our Instagram channel. And stay tuned for our
All
next
right.
episode on Wednesdays.